time for news on the hour.
It's midday. Good afternoon. You're tuned in and listening to Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. Here's the news at noon. President Muhammadu Buhari has urged developed and developing nations to grant duty-free and quota-free market access to products from world's 46 least developed countries to ensure their integration into regional and global value chains. The president made the call while speaking at the United Nations Conference of Least Developed Countries in Doha, Qatar. The president criticized the current structure of the global financial system, which places an unsustainable external debt burden on the most vulnerable countries. He reminded that in 2015, the world came together to endorse an ambitious 2030 agenda for 17 sustainable development goals, which requires the total commitment of leaders around the world for the SDGs to be achieved within the projected time frame. But 8 years on, the possibility of achieving the SDGs has remained bleak for many countries. Deposit money banks in the country have begun partial compliance with the Supreme Court's order approving the use of old 1,000, 500 and 200 naira notes as legal tender for 10 months. The Supreme Court had last week ordered that the old naira notes be allowed in circulation along with the new notes until December 31st, 2023. The court had said the federal government's naira redesign policy contravened the 1999 Constitution. Commercial banks have begun partial compliance with the order, even though the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation kept mum on the matter. The CBN and the AGF's office have refused to comply with the previous orders by the Supreme Court on the controversial naira redesign policy. The Supreme Court had on February 8, 2023, nullified the February 10th deadline stipulated by the CBN for the phasing out of the old naira notes. The Kano State has been hit by a deadly outbreak of diphtheria infection with 61 lives lost as of March 2nd, 2023. Diphtheria is a bacterial infection that affects the throat and upper airways, causing difficulty in breathing, heart failure, and even death. The alarming figures were disclosed by the Kano State Case Manager, Dr. Salma Suwaid, during a webinar organized by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, and the prevention, with the theme of diphtheria outbreak in Nigeria, vaccination response. Speaking at the event, Dr. Suwaid revealed that a total of 783 patients have been admitted to the hospital so far, with 360 females and 423 males. She emphasized the urgent need for vaccination response to halt the spread of the disease. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has asked Presidential Election Petition Court to vary the orders that were granted to the candidates of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the Labour Party, LP, Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, respectively, to inspect materials used for the last presidential election. INEC, in a motion and notice filed March 4th, is praying the court to vary the order which restrains it from tampering with materials used for the election. The commission says it needed to reconfigure the bimodal voter accreditation system for the next round of elections. The appellate court had on March 3rd granted leave to Atiku and Obi to inspect the election materials used by INEC. in the conduct of the February 25th presidential election. A panel of the appellate court, led by Justice Joseph Ikieg, granted the permission following two separate ex parte applications filed by Atiku and Obi, who came second and third respectively in the presidential election won by Asiwaju Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) members Monday besieged the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) headquarters in Abuja in protest of the outcome of the February 25th presidential election, which the standard-bearer Atiku Abubakar and his Labour Party counterpart Peter Obi claimed to have won. The Electoral Commission had declared the All Progressives Congress candidate Bola Tinubu the winner of the election, but the PDP and the LP denounced the results and vowed to challenge it in court. Leading the protest march, which was attended by the national chairman of the party, Iyocha Ayu, the Sokoto State Governor, Aminu Tambuwal, and his Taraba State counterparts, Darius Ishaku, and other chieftains. The former national chairman of the party, Uche Secondos, said the protest is in respect of the controversial election.
We are here to demand the cancellation of that election on the 25th. And that is the only answer for our country, Nigeria. Because as far as we are concerned, we contested this election against INEC.
Atiku Abubakar again rejected the declaration of the former Lagos State Governor, Bola Tinubu, as the president-elect, vowing that the protest will continue indefinitely. Speaking to newsmen outside INEC headquarters, Atiku also vowed that the protest will continue.
Protesting, and we have the right to protest under the Constitution. It doesn't stop us from going to court, the fact that we are protesting. In fact, this protest is going to continue.
The People's Republic of China has congratulated President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu on his victory at the last presidential election in Nigeria. Representing a congratulatory message from President Xi Jinping to the All Progressives Congress National Secretary at the party National Secretariat in Abuja, directing the officer of the Chinese embassy, Wu Baokai, expressed confidence that Nigeria will continue to make new achievements in the cause of nation building and development under Tinubu's leadership. President Xi Jinping also stated that China attaches great importance to the development of China-Nigeria.
Good friendship, and with regard to political, economical, and scientific and cultural fields, and we do hope that under the new leadership, the relationship will develop further.
In his remarks, the All Progressives Congress National Secretary, Senator Yola Omishori, commended the Chinese government for believing in Nigeria, as well as the electoral agency and its process. Omishori said the letter from Beijing is a testament to the global acceptability of the February 25th presidential and National Assembly in election in Nigeria.
Well, on behalf of National Chairman and the NWC entirely, I want to thank the Chinese government for believing in us, for believing in Nigeria, for believing in INEC, and for believing in the process of electoral campaign. I welcome this development. It is a signpost that the world has accepted this election worldwide, and according from the Chinese government, President Xi Jinping. It is a testimony of the fairness, the freeness, and stability of the election across the world.
Meanwhile, the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, says he did not criticize the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Peter Obi, and his All Progressives Congress counterpart, Bola Tinubu, in the just concluded February 25th presidential election because he's an apostle of power shift to the southern region of Nigeria. Wike, who spoke at the commissioning of the Chokocho Igbodo Road in the Eche local government area of Rivers State, says he owes no one an apology for supporting the rotation of power to the south after the 8-year tenure of the incumbent president Muhammadu Buhari, who is from Katsina State in the northwest geopolitical zone. The Rivers State governor also commended the people for voting for a southern president in the just concluded election. The Supreme Court has affirmed Dauda Lawal as the authentic governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Zamfara State. This affirmation comes 4 days to the March 11th governorship election scheduled by the Independent National Electoral Commission in the state. In a unanimous judgment, the 5-man panel of justices dismissed an appeal brought against the nomination by another governorship aspirant, Dr. Ibrahim Gusau. In the late judgment delivered by Justice Adamu Joro, the Supreme Court upheld the submissions of the counsel to Lawal Damien Dodo that his client is legally and lawfully nominated in line with the provisions of the law.
Finality of the resolution of this issue, I think, is a cause for great joy and satisfaction to the client, whose candidature was affirmed by the Court of Appeal, but the appellants were not satisfied and decided to come to the Supreme Court. So for him, as the candidate of the party in Zamfara State, the governorship candidate of the PDP, it is a matter of great joy and satisfaction that the Supreme Court has put its authority behind his candidature, and he can now face the business of electioneering campaign.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is asking the Presidential Election Petition Court to vary the orders which were earlier granted to the candidates of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, and Labour Party Peter Obi, to inspect materials used for the last presidential election. The Court of Appeal in Abuja on March 3rd granted the request of Obi and Atiku to have access to all sensitive materials INEC deployed for the conduct of the presidential election held on February 25th.
The commission belongs to the Nigerian people, and whatever grievances there are, we will look into all those grievances. If there are grievances that can be redressed, we will redress those grievances.
The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has released a list of items that will not be allowed into examination halls by candidates for the 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME). Registrar of JAMB, Professor Ishak Oluide, revealed that the prohibited items include mobile phones, pens, biros, AirPods, earpiece, smart buttons, wallets, purses, key holders, and calculators. Oloide made this known at a virtual training organized for invigilators. Listed other items to include Bluetooth devices, cameras, microphones, recorders, contact lenses, books, spyglasses, smart watches, flash drives, amongst others. In its weekly bulletin, JAMB also reveals that no candidates will be allowed to begin the examination 1 hour into the stipulated start time. And that's the news at noon. You can follow us on www.citizenfm.ng or any of our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm Raya Omotosho. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon.
Oh!